Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. We are here for round number 8 of the TFC Mad Monday series. This week we are coming from the Two Bridges loop in Watopia. It's 5 laps of this course, the same course that we did for the WTRL this year. We only did 3 laps on that occasion. We've got an extra 2 here for the full 5. So let's get a look at the route. So familiar, obviously, if you've watched the video from WTRL, but relatively flat, going across a couple of rollers, around a kilometre. They start downhill into the Watopia sprint reverse, a very, very short, very fast sprint, then relatively flat, starting to climb up again, then one large climb with just a pinch at around 10-12%. Descent on the other side and back across the start finish line. So let's get this on the road here. 3, 2 and 1, off we go. The beauty of the TFC Mad Monday series, to me at least, is it actually starts a little bit like a bike race and not so much like a Zwift race. By that I mean everyone is sort of chilled out a little bit at the start. Nobody's flying off the front at 10 watts a kilo in a sprint, because it's not a sprint. It's supposed to be a bike race. So off we go, and as we come across the start finish banner to start the first lap, we'll just skip forward just a little bit. So we move forward just over a lap, and this brings us to the start of the rollers on lap 2. The sprints are on lap 2, 3 and 4, and you will notice the mistake I've already made here, as I've let myself get too far back in the pack, and the split is just starting at the front, and I've realised the mistake I've made and start to put some power on and try and bridge this gap, but I really should have been a lot closer at the front. It was, I don't know if it was just not paying attention, or I think maybe I've become accustomed to Mad Monday not being ridden quite so full on compared to WTRL. So I thought I can just sit back and wait until we get to maybe the last roller, and we'll start to build up speed. And I got a little complacent and moved backwards. So having to stick down almost 500 watts, 550, 570 to try and catch on to the Canadian from the Rhino team. And even they've been gapped, and the people that we need to look at here are Martinelli, second place and 4-second lead. So we pass the Canadian, then it's up to the Italian, so there's going to be no help there. So we're going to have to push on past them, and finally to bridge the gap back to the leaders. And I think another part of me wasn't sure if this would actually be a break that stayed away. Again, I should have known that they would just set up after the sprint, but part of me wondered if, because they knew that I'd won the last 3 races, if maybe they were just going to push on as a 4, and I wouldn't see them again. But we caught back on, and here we are up the last of the rollers, and again pace is starting to pick up. I was hoping that maybe we could sit in just a little bit, but it doesn't happen, unfortunately. But for the sprint, I've already burnt all of my matches. Well, not all of them, but I've burnt the ones that I have at the moment by chasing to get back on. So I'm just going to roll over this sprint and just be happy to be here. So let them fight it out. And it is going to be a win for Hanlon, then Everson and Martinelli. So again we move forward, and we're at the base of the climb, and again there's no points, there's no KOM points, but I do realise that to win this, first of all, I need to thin this pack down. And still, all 19 of the people that left are here, and also trying to blunt the legs of some of the sprinters for the finish. So we start to lay on just a little bit of power. It's not a great deal, but I want to force people like Martinelli into following me, and follow me he does as he moves up and starts putting out 4+ watts a kilo, and just encouraging him to come with me as the gradient picks up to 10% and then starts to ease off just a little back to around 7%. Then as we're coming up towards the big cycly statues, things continue to ease off, and that's fine. That's the plan. Just little short efforts that just take some of the sprint out of their legs. And as we go across the top here, we're going to hang a left and then downhill towards the finish line. And so onwards we go now to the sprint for lap 3, just coming up the last of the rollers. And again, you'll see that I've just switched off a little bit, allowed some of them to make a break for it, Martinelli especially, put in a second or so there. And we're just having to go a little bit harder than I would like in the lead up to the sprint. So it's not ideal, and again, I don't know if it was just switching off or if it was not paying attention. I'm not sure. So anyway, they are on their way, and again we're sitting fifth wheel, Martinelli flying out the blocks there, and on to the bridge for the sprint to start. And around here I realise I'm in the wrong gear because I'm already spinning over 100 and so watts, 100 and so revolutions, but managed to go past a couple and take third, with the victory going to Everson, then Hanlon and me. So happy enough with that, some points on the board to go along with our 5th place points from the first sprint. So let's get a move on, and we will go to the next climb up the hill. So on we go once again, and the plan remains the same, just to try and blunt the legs of the sprinters, make those fast guys like Martinelli come and chase. So we move past the train of Team TFC riders, and for a short hill like this, fairly happy that we can sit quite comfortably at around 400 watts for, I don't even know how long it is, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, certainly not long. So it's just a real sort of punch up the hill and then just chill out again. So around 450 watts, give or take, and that's starting to open gaps. You can see Martinelli pushing on to try and close the gap down. And I think I maybe gave them the fear because in the previous race at Richmond, well, 2 races ago, I managed to go on a solo break and win, so they know that they can't just leave me out there, because I could stay away, although 16 kilometers is a little bit far even for me, but it's at least given them that fear that, you know, it could happen. So over the hill we go, 2 seconds, so we're just going to dial back on the power, chill out and wait for everyone to catch up. And here we are as we come up the last of the rollers, and once again I've sat at the back and switched off, and you can see at the very front Martinelli has just dropped the hammer and he is off. He's already on the descent, he's got about 3 seconds so far and the gap is building. So yeah, really needed to mark him a lot better. So it's been really poor for me across the whole race so far. There's just been a lack of marking, you know, probably the most important person, the only person that's got a realistic chance of beating me in the overall standings, and you know, we let him get on the sprint with a 5-second lead. So nobody to blame but myself. I've also managed to provide a lovely lead out for Iverson and Hanlon, from the ART and the Viking teams respectively. And indeed, I think I might just have been pipped on the line by the two chasing pack there. So it's a victory for Martinelli, then Iverson and Hanlon. And so forward we go on to the second to last time up the hill, and the road just starts to pick up, and again so does the power as we start hitting 300 plus watts and just gradually building it up. So the intent again just to keep on putting the pressure on the sprinters, and we can see Martinelli is in the chase. And as we progress up the hill, well, you'll see what happens. But it's a familiar sight to anyone that's watched my videos this season. As we approach the steepest part of the climb, pop. And so I don't really know who I am holding responsible for this. There's a video to come on my first series, or first season with a watt bike, but what I will say is this problem has been something that has gone on maybe 5 or 6 times now, and it's never a problem I had when I was riding a kicker with my road bike on it, and it was using exactly the same connections, exactly the same Ant Plus dongles. Tried it with other Ant Plus dongles, had dropouts with Bluetooth as well. It just seems to be an ongoing problem. So anyway, this will take around 5 minutes to sort out, but sort out it does, and we get back on our way. But you can see we are already almost 5 minutes behind Martinelli in the lead group, and even a minute and a half back to the last person on the road. So it's going to be a casual ride in and take the points, well, at least collect the points that I'd earned in the sprints earlier. So unfortunately I don't know any of the results of the intermediate sprints that I've missed out on. What I will, however, point out is I'll skip forward, and there's actually the nicest message. You can see I put in, can't believe my connection dropped, and it leads to one of the most sporting messages that I have ever seen from Martinelli, who makes an offer, and I appreciate the offer. He's going to say, if everyone agrees, we can just sit up and wait after the sprint line and ride in with a sprint at the end. And we never expect, I wouldn't expect them to actually do it, but the offer is just, it's lovely because he's the main competition. So yeah, I really appreciate that, proper sporting gesture. But we are just going to roll in for the last lap and get to the finish. So we will move on just to the finish, and fairly chilled out. I will take this time to do a wee update on the competition from the last video. So the winner was Richard Delaney. So Richard, if you can drop a little email with your details on it, we'll get the book sent out to you. The email is just in the description of this video. So here we are, across the line, and we'll see the final results. And it is a win in the final sprint for Martinelli, then Iverson in second, and Ade of Swedish Swifters in third. So congratulations. I think Martinelli had me with the sprints anyway. But yeah, that was the TFC Mad Monday. There is no more WTRL, so we'll maybe do something a little bit different for our other upload this week. If you can subscribe, that'd be a great help to the channel. Share if you know anyone that likes it, and I will see you next time.